Hello, class. Okay. Who here caught the presidential debate on TV last night? Oh, wow, most of you actually caught it. So, does anybody have anything that they want to share about the debate? Molly. And it was mean. You thought it was mean? Yeah. Does anybody want to try to figure out why they would fight? Why someone might see that as being mean or a bad thing? Think about it. They're on two different sides. Who knows what sides they're on? What are the political parties? Susan. Yes, Democrats and Republicans. From what we see in the media, on news, in the newspapers, do they get along? No, not so much. So back to your question, Molly. If you think about it, they're trying to prove themselves, try to get their point across, because they feel like if they can get their point across better, then people will want to vote for them. Does this make sense for everyone? Yeah? Okay, good. Do we have any other points you want to bring up about the debate? Marcus. Why didn't you like that people were in the crowd asking questions? Well, think about it, Marcus. If you were at a debate and you had a question for Obama, wouldn't you want to ask him? Because you're a voter. These were undecided voters. So they were supposed to represent the people who aren't sure who they're going to vote for. And they thought, maybe if I ask these questions, it'll help me and it'll help someone else. So what if you don't like that format? What format do you think is better? So was there a debate when one person was asking all the questions? A presidential debate? Yes. Which one was that one? The first one. Who is the person that we have to ask the questions? What is that person called? A moderator, exactly. So what does a moderator do? Moderate. And what do we think the word moderate means? To keep under control, to keep everything calm, cool, and ready to go. Does anybody else have anything you want to talk about? Let's get started with today's lesson. Remember, guys, we just finished the industrial era. So we learned about how manufacturing and factories came to America. We learned about the important things about industrialization and how it affects America. Now we're going to move into this era called the progressive era. So our objectives today for class are to identify the social and political problems of the past, meaning the problems of the industrial era. We're also going to identify social, political, and economic problems of the present. So what are some of the problems today? Okay, do you guys have questions about what we're going to aim for today's lesson? No? Everyone understands? Okay, so my first challenge for you guys, I want you to think of what the word progress means. So I want you to take a few minutes, brainstorm, and you can write it out. What do you think the word progress means? What do you feel when you hear the word progress? What do you think about? If you don't want to write, you can draw a picture or any other type of representation. So what I want you to do is just take a few minutes and work on that. And I'm going to circulate the room and kind of see how you guys are getting along. If you have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll come over. Okay, your 2 minutes are up. So who wants to raise their hand and give us an example of what they wrote when they thought about the word progress? And I'll write it on the board. Change. 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 Any other words? Michael? Better. Any other things? Like, did anybody get any feelings down that they wanted to share? Elizabeth? Purpose. What do you mean by the word purpose? Kind of like a goal. Because you want to change things, so you have this purpose. Your purpose is to make this better for these people, right? So purpose is kind of like this feeling you have. And when you have a sense of purpose, you tend to feel good or bad? Good. You're most likely going to feel good about yourself. Any other words we want to have for the word progress? Austin? Anxiety? Can you explain this one? Because this one might be a little tricky. What is anxiety? When you feel anxious, like how do you describe that feeling?
I get nervous
Nervous
because of change.
because of change. So people feel anxiety. Why? Because of change. So are they scared of change?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Think about when all you guys went to a different grade. When you got, I know this is a long time because you're in 11th grade. You're like, oh yeah, we're old and we're grown up. Think about when you were in 8th grade and you had to go to 9th grade. I know some of you were probably super excited, but you were a little nervous, right? And anxious on the first day of school, like, oh my God, it's a new building, new people. Yeah, so anxiety. People do feel anxiety from change. Is there anything else for the word progress? Cindy. Moving forward. Now, when you say moving forward, do you literally mean like walking, like moving, or do you mean it in a different way? Like how is it different? How do you mean moving forward in a different way? Okay, so forward, moving forward in the sense that you're gonna change something. Like things are gonna be one way now, but in the next 5 or 10 years, it's gonna be different. So the times are gonna change. The times are gonna move forward. You're not necessarily walking across the room, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else for the word progress? Actually, what if we get some examples that are different from progress, like against progress? So non-examples. We have our examples, and we're gonna have non-examples, so we know what progress is not.
Backwards?
Backwards. If progress is moving forward, then the opposite of progress is gonna be moving backwards. Anything else for non-examples? Melissa. Stagnation. Okay, that is a very good SAT word. What about telling us what that means? What is stagnation? So staying in one place. Remember, we learned about this word, this phrase, status quo. Remember when we learned that earlier in the semester, saying that the status quo is how things are now. Mm-hmm. So if you have stagnation, then the status quo continues because there's no change. Does anybody else have anything they want to add for the meaning of the word progress? No? Okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to think about what we said progress is. Because when we learn about the progressive era, what do you think we're going to learn about? Think about the word progressive. What word do you see in the word progressive? Progress. Okay? So if I say we're learning about the progressive era, what do you think we're going to learn about? A different word for progress. Change, better, purpose, moving forward, okay? So we're going to learn about all these things. We're going to move forward, but what are we moving forward from? What was before the progressive era? You just mentioned this in the beginning of class. The industrial era, yeah. So we're moving from industrialization to the progressive era. So what I want you to do now is, I actually want you to work with the person sitting next to you, and I want you to kind of think, pair, share. So remember what think, pair, share is? You sit there, you take a minute, you think about what you want to write, you pair up with the person next to you, and you share it, and then we're going to share it with the class. So this might be helpful. I'm going to erase this stuff. Did everybody get a chance to copy this into their notes? Yes. Yes. Okay. So these are your questions. You're going to think about problems of the industrial era. I want you also to think about problems that we have today. So you can make a chart like this in your notes. It'll be helpful. So this way you can compare the two. Okay? So take a few minutes to think about that. And while you guys are working on it, once again, I'll come and circulate. Guys, we're in class. Please take out your notes if you have any questions about what we learned during the industrial era. This is not a test. I just want you guys to kind of refresh yourself. Who wants to be the first to tell us about some of the problems of the industrial era? James. Bad working conditions. What are some of those bad working conditions? Like people were hurt. So it was dangerous. Yeah. It was hot and long hours. What are some of the other problems of the industrial era? was too crowded. Where was it too crowded? In the homes. And what do we call those homes? Those apartment buildings in the cities. We call those tenements. Yes, tenements. It was too crowded in the tenements and in the cities. And what did this overcrowding lead to? Because people live close to each other. Sally. Disease, yes. There are a lot of diseases going along. Is there anything else you guys want to add to problems? Child labor. So could these kids go to school? No, they had to work long hours. And were they working the same way as adults? Yeah. Did they get paid the same? No. Okay. So we also have unequal wages. Who got paid less besides children? Yes, women. So children and women. What about problems for today? Do we see any of this of similar or the same problems today, or do we have some new problems? Michael,
There's still unequal wages.
unequal wages. Who specifically gets paid less?
Women.
Women, yes. Women still get paid less than men today in most jobs and in most states. We're going to go into that a little later in the unit when we talk about women's rights and to see how that has evolved over time. What are some other problems of today? Sally, diseases. Are they the same or different? What are some of the different ones that we have today? We know you're completely right. We have swine flu, AIDS, HIV, and we call that a what? What is the word we learned? It starts with an E. There's an epidemic, and that means that it's spreading really fast. What are some other problems we have today? Distrust of government. So we don't trust our government?
No.
That's interesting. Shouldn't we trust our government?
Yes.
But we're having issues with that. Was there any government problems during the Industrial Revolution? What was that called? Corruption. And we use a vocab word. What is that vocab word? It's kind of, it reminds you of a factory almost. Melissa? Political machines, yes. And these are mainly where? Were they in rural areas or in the cities? Mainly in the cities. What other problems for today? Let's get maybe one or two more on the board. Crime. Yes, we have a problem with crime. Anything else? Anybody want to add anything? War. Okay. We do have a problem with wars today. We every day in the news we hear about nuclear weapons. One thing that we didn't mention that spans both of these, and that is very important, is the idea of racism. During the Industrial Revolution, who were we racist against? The country as a whole in general. Melissa. Immigrants and African Americans, exactly. So, we had issues with the Irish when they first came over, the Italians, African Americans. What about today? Who's a big target for racism today? Think about September 11th. Yes. Are they always Muslim? Or are they from a region usually? The Middle East, yes. So there's a lot of racism today against people from the Middle East. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Take it outdoor. Remember that. So 3 problems of the industrial era. One problem today. Okay, guys. So you take your time, finish that. And remember, before you leave, you have to put them on the back table.